At you live with another episode of the Daily K podcast. And on today's episode, we have Dr. Masadi from the Purpose Promoter. How you doing today, Dr. Masadi?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I won't complain. I wanted to say thank you for taking some time out to talk to me and the audience about the awesome things you're doing in our community today.
Thank you.
Before we jump in, I always like to do a wellness check. So since everything has been going on, how are you doing? And how has this affected you in any way, the quarantine?
Well, if it was just the quarantine, I would say, I've definitely overall been blessed, actually prospering, being very productive. But with everything else that's going on, my honest answer is that my soul is tired and I'm frustrated, and it's a fight every day to, just try to maintain some sense of normal. But yeah, so that's where I'm at right now.
Yes, and that's another point that we really had to talk about. I know what you're saying about the issue, and it angers. So we'll just see how justice prevails on this one. I'm really trying to set up just a panel of guys that I just want to have a conversation with, because I think we got to figure out a way to talk about these type of things, and what do we do?
Absolutely. And for me, as a mom of Black boys, well, Black men now, my sons are 18 and 20 now. It just, it takes my breath away every time they walk out the door. And I don't think that I should or they should have to feel that way. The conversations that we have to have about even walking in our neighborhood and not having their hoodies on and not walking in people's yards and, all of those kind of conversations that most people don't have to have. You get tired.
Just personal experience. And I don't know if I'll even say where I was living, but but it was at one point, I was an educator. I was on the news because I was coaching. It was a whole lot of things, but I would still be out and I would still get those looks, still get those feelings where people would push away. And I was like, your kid is probably in my class. So I do understand. And that's why I say I got to figure out how to highlight this because we got to talk, and then is violence the answer, or how do we just deal with these type of things?
And I think right now, one of my big things is, for me, the noticeable absence of those that call themselves allies. I posted something the other day, and one of my friends from work, responded, and I thanked him because to me, what I said in the post was that silence is complicit in my book. So, if you can post on all the other things that I say, but you can't respond to this, that says a lot to me. And so one of my friends from grad school actually just, I, and a couple of other folks are going to host a Zoom for those people who are allies or call themselves allies and want to, know more about what they can do. So I'm going to do that.
That sounds awesome. I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was your role in education. If you could give us a little bit about your background and your role in education, but then also about how that turns into the Purpose Promoter.
So currently I serve as the Associate Dean for Admissions and Outreach at Lone Star College. And that came as a result of over 20 years in higher ed. So I'm a first generation college student from Acres Home, graduated from Eisenhower High School, go Big Ike, and got an academic scholarship to Texas A&M actually. And so got my bachelor's and my master's there. But while I was there, I had some mentors that had they not been present in my life, I definitely would not have made it through. And so I found out about that you could actually have a career in student affairs. And something about the way everything just worked out, I knew that that's where I was supposed to be. And so worked in the field, ended up going back to school at the University of Houston to pursue my doctorate, also in higher ed. and here I am. And I pursued higher education for myself initially because I wanted something different from what I saw, growing up. But I stayed in higher education because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be that person that I had experienced, because we know that, whether you have your parents at home or not, or you have money or not, students are going through all kinds of different things. And so for me, it's extremely important to help them through that. And so how that relates to the purpose promoter is, as it says, purpose promoter. So my tagline is your purpose, your promotion. And so that means that whatever that looks like for you, if that's going straight into the workforce, if that's writing a book, if that's, hosting events, whatever that looks like for you, my goal is to promote you into your purpose by providing that undergirding that you need in order to be able to do that.
Since things have gone, have you been having clients that have been reaching out to you virtually, or how's that going?
Some things have definitely slowed down since the quarantine, simply because all the things that I had lined up were like in-person workshops and things like that.
Yes.
I have been invited to be a panelist on some things, and as well as a conference presenter. So I'm still doing some things, just not in the form that I thought that I would be doing them in.
Okay, I understand totally. Everything did make a big shift, so it's like with me, I had this going and everything was smooth. I had my schedule set up for the shows, and then online happened. So now I got to focus on how do I adjust to serve this community of my school and to still try to do this part. So it was a lot to juggle real fast. So I understand totally where you're coming from. So as I was looking into the Purpose Promoter, I know that you have, is it like a curriculum almost of the serving my purpose, restating my purpose? And so how do you use that to serve your clients?
So I have several different things that I do. So the restating my purpose is what I call the mid-year purpose check. And so the premise behind that is, we know that, in December, January, we get all fired up and we're like, here are my goals, for whatever year it's going to be. And, here's what I'm going to do and here's how I'm going to do it. Well, come June, we've either made a lot of progress, no progress, some progress. It looks completely different from, what we thought it was going to look like back in December or January. So restating my purpose is an opportunity for us to come together as community. And there is some curriculum that goes with that, but a large part of it is the community of being able to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking, or here's where I am with this, and being able to get feedback from other people. And so that's one of the reasons why the things that I do, could they work virtually? Yes, but there's something about the energy in the room when people are together. And so same thing with my Do It On Purpose retreat. It's actually an overnight retreat that I've hosted. And that allows us to just really go from the beginning, whether you're a person that doesn't know your purpose and we're helping you to discover your purpose, or you know your purpose, but you're just not exactly sure what it's supposed to look like in your life. And so we focus on that at the Do It On Purpose retreat.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of my questions, because I know you do the retreat, but like you said, you answered it, because the feeling and the energy would be that face-to-face overnight time. And, that's kind of when everybody's wind down, and that's when you have those best conversations. So then I will understand the importance of that face-to-face totally. Going back to something else you said, that June checkup, I think about, I'm an avid gym goer when we can. And so I look at all of the people who join in January. But then about March, between March and May, by June, it's over. All the machines are back free. And so I think that's an awesome idea, because that check-in is needed by the masses. So awesome purpose, Doc. This is the meat and the bones. I think about the women in my life who are single, I think about, I'm an elementary school teacher, so I think about the women in my building who are single, and everybody is looking for love. And so you have a book, Alone but Not Lonely. And so I know one part of that is talking about being successfully single on the
Yes.
way to finding that marriage. So could you give me a little bit of background about the book and how did it come to fruition?
So, Alone, Not Lonely, Embracing the Power of Being Successfully Single came out of my own journey. I am about to be 45 years old, spent a lot of that time in and out of relationships. Some were good, they just didn't work out, and some were not good at all. Ones that I never should have been in from the beginning. But I wrote the book because I seriously thought, if I'm going through this, I know that there are other people, not just women, that are going through this. And so that is one of the reasons why I wrote the book from a gender neutral perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a girl get your life, kind of book. This is for men and women. Because wholeness is not a gender thing. Wholeness is a people thing. And so being able to be successfully single requires that you be whole. And so for me, going through the book, and I'll just tell you all really quickly. So, like, the chapters of the book are heart, emotions, obedience, rejection, identity, honor, trust and faith, wisdom, temptation and purity, and wholeness. And so I wrote it that way because we all have work to do in all of those areas. None of us are perfect. And in order to be successfully single, we've got to do the work in all of those areas.
Yes, I totally agree. And when you're thinking about doing that work and getting it out, I know that you've used the book for like relationship panels. And so have you thought about doing any of those virtually?
I have thought about it. That particular relationship panel was during my book launch. And when I tell you it was fire, like, it was so good. People really, really enjoyed it and have asked if I would be doing that again. So it is something that I've thought about. But I'm also trying to take into consideration, I know people are Zoomed and WebEx and Skype out. And so, and so that's the thing that kind of makes me a little tentative about doing that. But we'll see what direction God tells me to go in.
Yeah, and just a testament to that. I looked at the one with the book lunch, and I mean, I agree with you. Fire, fire. And so in the book, though, you stated to be married, you had to be single, and so that's going through that process. And so, can you talk about that statement and what that could mean for others?
Yeah. So for some reason in our society, we believe that the ultimate, it's like the goal is marriage, right? It's like almost like you haven't made it until you found the one or your person or whatever term it is that people use. And that's fine. I'm not saying that marriage shouldn't be a goal. If that's what your goal is, that's great. But what are you going to do in order to make sure that it's more than just a ceremony? What are you going to do to make sure that it's more than just a marriage certificate? How are you going to make it last? What are you going to do to bring your best self to the situation? And so that's why I say that if you want to be married, you have to learn how to be single. You have to learn how to enjoy being with yourself. If you don't like being with yourself, why do you expect somebody else to want to be with you? If you can't look at your own self in the mirror, then why would you expect somebody else to be able to look at you and tell you that you're beautiful or you're handsome or you're the bomb or whatever? Like, you have to have that own confidence within you. And so I often say, stop taking your trash with you to the relationship. So being single is your opportunity to release those things, and not saying that everything's going to be, resolved, and that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is take your time to just release some things, because if you know that you have a certain type of person that you want in your life, if that's the kind of person that you want, don't you think that they deserve the best? And so if they deserve the best, what are you going to do to be the best before you go into that relationship or situation with them? So that's why I make that statement.
That was deep, Doc. That was real deep. So now this is the
It's
question. Do you all talk about this book during the retreat? Do y'all kind of go deeper into this?
so the book just came out in February, and so we haven't had a retreat since it came out, but it will definitely the next time, when the world opens all the way back up and we plan the retreat again, it will definitely be a part of it. Because like I said, the contents are beyond just how to be successful in singlehood. It's how to be successful as a person, how to be successful in all relationships. So it will definitely be a part of it.
That's cool. And I think, like I say, the holistic idea of it, because single is a lot, but it's a lot to build up to being successfully unsingle. But successfully single is a start. So this is the question, putting you on the spot. Are you currently single? And how are you using successfully single, I guess, techniques or ideas in your life?
So I just recently started seeing someone, and we'll see how it goes, very early days. Um, and as far as me using it in my life, Alone Not Lonely wasn't just from me, it was also for me. You know, I realize that I'm not perfect, but I know that I've done the work on myself. The things that I wrote in that book weren't just things that I thought sounded good. These were things that I actually did. I actually took the time to disconnect. My season of single literally looked like I wasn't talking to anybody, texting with anybody, going to dinner. I wasn't doing any of that so that I could do the work. And so my prayer is that it will show up in me having, successful interactions and relationships with all that I come into contact with. Again, not just about, a romantic relationship, but just in general.
Yes, friendship that develops and blossoms.
Yeah.
I understand. So as we close up, I love to have words of wisdom for someone. And a lot of the times it's usually through the expertise of my guest. If there's a person out there who is listening and they are single and they are now peaked, what would you tell them, I guess as an extra tip on being alone but not lonely in the transition to successfully single?
There's several things that I would say. The first being, take your time. Don't subscribe to anybody's timetable of what should be and when it should be. Take your time. For some people, a process like this might take a month. For some people, it might take 2 years. It's all about you. So take your time. I would also say be honest with yourself. That's where we fall short most times is we don't want to face the ugly about ourselves. And so we sweep it under the rug, and then we continue to have the same issues, the same problems over and over again because we didn't really deal with what was at the root of what's going on with us. And so that's going to mean being honest with yourself, and it might make you cry. It might make you hurt. It might make you cringe, like, ugh, that was me. But you've got to be honest with yourself if you really want this work to be long lasting. I would also say don't be afraid to be unattached. Many people are afraid to be single. And whether that's not having a quote unquote boyfriend, girlfriend title, lots of people are okay with not having a boyfriend, girlfriend title, but then we get wrapped up in situationships and where we're still, dealing with folks. But don't be afraid of being unattached. And then the last thing that I would say is give yourself some grace. We're very hard on ourselves. And this work is going to require you to give yourself some grace, but also to forgive yourself for things that you may have felt like you did, or even things that other people did to you. Give yourself some grace for that. And if all of those things are done, then this work will give you very lasting and positive results.
Thank you for that, Doc. That awesome words. Man, those were powerful points there. And so now, after you just changed somebody's life with those words, how do they contact you?
So they can reach me on Instagram at The Purpose Promoter. There's also lots of blogs and things like that on my website at www.thepurposepromoter.com. You can go to The Purpose Promoter on Facebook. I also have another Instagram at Dr. Masadi Porter, and there you can go if you are interested in leadership tips and motivation.
Okay. Entire other avenue, still the same, but just just a little. I see you, Doc. All right.
Yes, the Purpose Promoter is more of your life, personal development, and at Dr. Masadi Porter is more of your career leadership side of things.
Sounds like we're gonna have to talk again, Dr. Porter.
Absolutely.
I love it. I want to say again, just thank you for taking that time today. And I look forward to getting this out and just changing someone's life.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And it's important, and I want everyone to understand, like, this is not about me. Would I like to get, some followers or book sales or whatever out of it? Sure. But at the end of the day, the reason that I started doing this work is because I know what it feels like to not know what my purpose is. I know what it feels like to look in the mirror and not like what I saw. I know what it feels like to be in and out of these relationships and just kind of beating myself up like, well, what's wrong with me? I think I'm a pretty cool person, but why are things, not working out for me? Like, I know what that feels like. And so if I can save one person just a little bit of that pain, or turn it around for them even just a little bit, it's all worth it.
I agree. Once again, thank you so much today.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That will do it for us. This is KT for KTTV signing out. 100.
This is Darnell with Broadcast Houston.
This is Dr. Tamara Beckford.
Hey, this is Candace.
This is London Underwood.
This is Kirsten Bass with Inner City Greens, and you're watching.
Y'all are now tuned in to
KTTV.
KTTV.
KT